What's poppin'? Back like we never left BDA, and today we will be talking about Drake. No, not him. X-Drake. X-Drake is a character that a lot of people know about, but we do not know his exact motives. Compared to the rest of the Worst Generation, X-Drake is a character that we know more about. Think about Capone, which we just found out about. Think about Killer, Apu, Hawkins, Bonnie, even Kid. First off, back then we know X-Drake was a member of the Barrel Pirates that was run by his father, Diaz Barrels, and that his father was killed by Doflamingo. Now even back then, X-Drake was heralded as the strongest member of the crew at that age. Now also back then when Doflamingo killed his father, he managed to escape, and Doflamingo mistook that guy, that same guy, X-Drake, for Law. When the Marines mentioned that they had found a kid, that was actually X-Drake and not Law, but you see how they intertwine. However, we know more about X-Drake. Drawn as a child, X-Drake, he has a Marine costume on, so that shows that he had aspirations to become a Marine even back then. So X-Drake at first was a pirate, then he became a Marine. Drake rose through the ranks and became a Rear Admiral, but then he left the Marines. We still don't know how Drake got the X on his chin, but one can assume that in some way that is tied to his change in character. The typical thing here of a character switching from the Marines to a pirate, one would assume that he saw something that changed his outlook, or simply, as Kizaru referenced, he wanted to see the other side, wanted to see what was going on in the pirate world. I always believed Drake would be the perfect person to be a revolutionary because he's seen the pirate side, he's seen the Marine side, and then becoming a revolutionary, he could in some way influence them to become better because he knows the worst of those two sides. However, today we're here to talk about Drake and his decisions. So after the events of Marineford, we know that Drake happened upon an island where we found Iron Boy Scotch. This is where Scotch tells Drake that this is one of Kaido's favorite islands, and Drake proceeds to attack Scotch. Drake did ask if that would get the attention of Kaido, and that seemed to be his motive. X-Drake, as I mentioned before, is shrouded in mystery, but for some reason he wanted to be a part of Kaido. We saw that after the time skip, Drake is actually working on the Kaido, presumably, because after Scotch was defeated by Caribou, we see Drake coming in and dragging him away. We also saw Drake reading about Luffy and Law's defeat of Doflamingo, and Drake saying that he didn't care about his father's death makes sense because apparently his father used to abuse him, and why would he care about that? He ran and left him anyway. So I didn't expect Drake to really care about Doflamingo killing his father. Honestly, I felt like he would say good riddance, and that's what this confirmed. However, why is X-Drake with Kaido? What is his plan, and what is this power that he has? His father referenced that Drake had power back then, and I believe that was his devil fruit, but he did not have the courage to use it. Drake seems like a different person now, so I assume that power has been controlled, as we can see from fighting the Pacifista to stopping Rouge and Killer from fighting. But what is his purpose? What does he want with Kaido, and what decision does he have to make? Right now we're in Whole Cake, but after Whole Cake we're going to get some Reverie stuff, and then we're headed to Wano. One can assume that we're going to eventually run into X-Drake, and now X-Drake is going to have to make a huge decision. We've seen how things have played out with the Worst Generation, where Law helped Luffy and now Capone is helping Luffy. Law has helped Luffy before, and Capone has his own motives. Law helped Luffy as much as Luffy helped him, so that makes sense. But however, even the Capone thing and Capone using Luffy to achieve his goals. So in this instance, one can infer that the same thing is going to happen. We have to remember exactly what's going on in Wano. Kaido is currently occupying Wano with the Shogun. At the moment, we know Kid is in Wano. Apu and Hawkins we can infer, as well as Killer. However, I do believe Killer has left the island and is looking for help. Needless to say here though, the X factor to defeating Kaido is actually going to be X-Drake. In the defeat of Doflamingo, Law was intricate and Law was definitely necessary for that plan to be successful, and in this Whole Cake Island arc, Capone is playing the same role. Now with X-Drake, he has to decide. Once Luffy and the crew infiltrates, is he gonna side with the Supernovas and the members of his generation, or is he gonna continue to serve Kaido? History does suggest that X-Drake does not care about crews and allies, as he ran away from his own crew, which had his father. So it seems likely for X-Drake to betray Kaido and to give Luffy the inside access that he's gotten with Whole Cake, as well as Dressrosa. Now I think this whole decision comes down to the X-Drake's role on Kaido's crew. I've heard before that X-Drake could possibly be a Calamity, which I feel like is possibly too soon. However, we saw Rouge did take out a Sweet Commander, so X-Drake could be next in line to be a Calamity, and that could change his way of thinking. If Kaido has somehow told X-Drake that he would be the next Yonko because he plans to die, X-Drake could stay and occupy Kaido's crew. However, if X-Drake's character tells us anything, more than likely he is going to choose the revolutionary route and is already a revolutionary. One would think his sole purpose for him being with Kaido's crew is to infiltrate in the future. future, but I think he also went to Kaido's crew because Kaido is the king of Zoans, presumably. Now personally, I think X-Drake has to choose betrayal for this to make sense and for Luffy and them to get an edge in some way. Because if they're fighting X-Drake in addition to the Calamities and Kaido, I feel like it's gonna be a really tough fight. And for them to overcome Kaido with X-Drake working with them, that makes the most sense, because if they're fighting X-Drake, the Calamities, and Kaido, I would feel like it would be tough for Oda to overcome that. The other side though is if X-Drake does turn, that would fall into the same convenience that Luffy and his crew has been experiencing the whole new world seemingly. Law helped him, Capone helped him, and now X-Drake helping him would definitely raise an eyebrow, but based on how it's set up, it makes sense. He's betrayed a crew before. It's been mentioned to survive in a new world you must either work under a Yonko or take him down. I believe X-Drake is biding his time to eventually take Kaido down, so when Luffy and those guys happen across the island, he's gonna take that opportunity to actually leave Kaido's crew with spoils. Now, X-Drake does not seem like the character to want fame and power, however, he is still a pirate. I believe he's a deeper character who has some sense of purpose. That's why I think X-Drake is possibly already a revolutionary or will become one in the near future. Let me know your thoughts on X-Drake's decision. Do you think he's going to choose Kaido or Luffy? I would not be surprised if X-Drake actually chose Kaido, due to the fact that the worst generation has been siding with Luffy this whole time. It could play out as well where X-Drake chose Luffy and Apu would stick with Kaido. However, X-Drake's decision is going to be huge and would have a unbelievable ripple effect due to his importance and possible impact on Kaido's crew. So guys, let me know what you thought about this. Do you think X-Drake is going to choose Kaido, or will he choose Luffy, a member of his generation? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't for more content like this. Leave recommendations for characters you'd like me to do videos on, and also follow me on Twitter and check out the Discord. The links are in the description box down below. We out.